Okay. Joining us now is Denny Hamlin. And Denny drives the number 11 FedEx one-rate Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. And Denny is a four-time winner here at Martinsville Speedway. Recently was honored by the March of Dimes for his contributions to that organization. It was up in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago. So I know you've been busy, Denny, and I know you want to get to victory lane before the season's out. It's been a year of, sure, challenges for you, but you'll come out on the better end. But talk about coming here to Martinsville, a track that you've performed well, and what your outlook is for the next four races.
Well, it's, we definitely are excited about the last four races and especially the racetracks that are ahead of us, but especially this one in particular. Obviously, not being able to run the spring race here, hurts, and especially, this is kind of, Richmond is home, but this is a home type track for me. So it hurt to watch this race in the spring, but now it feels good to come back here and run some laps and feel as comfortable as ever. I know, our team has put a large emphasis on this race in particular. We've won a race every year that I've been in the series, and obviously this will be our best shot to get that done.
And also running in the truck race tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So got a little double hitter this weekend. So questions for Denny Hamlin. If you have one, raise your hand. Jim Utter, Reed, and then Lee. Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. I was just curious, with all the things that have transpired over the last several weeks, what your attitude is for coming towards the end of the year. Are you ready to get this all done? I know you just talked about wanting to get a win because you've had one every season you've been. Just what's your attitude been towards approaching the end of the season?
Well, it's tough because, what my fans see is that, that they see the struggles, they see the blown engines and things like that we've had here recently. But those are all things that we signed up for when we didn't make the chase. We decided it would be best for us to work on next year and focused on next year. There's everything we've done since not making the chase has been focused on running well next year, whether it be testing in 2014 form. I know Drew Herring did that for us at Texas this past week. We did some short track testing for our teammates for this racetrack, not here, but another short track. So really we've not thrown away this year, but we've really shifted our focus to coming up with an engine that it works good for next year, a chassis setup that's going to work good. And, along with it, we'd like to get a little bit of momentum with it. We had obviously a small victory in a top 10 at Charlotte. We ran top 10 the previous 2 to 3 races before that, before blown engines or what have you, some other running out of gas, some other challenges that we've had. But it's been super tough on us, and it'll make you stronger in the end. And obviously, if we could get a win this weekend, by no means will it fix and make us feel good about our year, but it'll definitely give us something to smile about in the off season.
Let's go with Reed, Lee, and then Bob Hockers.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire Service. Denny, this is obviously a pivotal race for Matt, and he was saying earlier that when you were out of the car in the spring that he and you talked a lot about Martinsville. I'm just curious as to how you would handicap his prospects of holding serve against Jimmy here this weekend.
Well, I think that he did a really good job in the spring. Just the observing I got to do of him. Obviously, Jimmy, I felt like was kind of in his own zip code in the spring. I promised him when I went to Victory Lane to congratulate him that it wouldn't be that easy this time around. But I think Matt has learned a lot. Really coming here, he had a big challenge. One of the biggest challenges was coming here in the spring for Matt was driving a car that drove completely different than he had ever driven before. Now he knows what to expect. Obviously, we came up with a setup for our teammates to run this weekend. that looks like all three of them, have some decent speed. So I think he's going to be fine. I think that tomorrow will be a big day for them to tune it in. But Matt is plenty capable of holding serve. And like I said, he led some laps here in the spring, and I think our cars and whatnot will be better this time around.
Let's go to Lee, Bob, and then to Nate.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. As an athlete who's pretty much playing hurt this season, have you talked to any of your friends who are also athletes in other sports to kind of get yourself right with the mental aspect of knowing that you're coming into a game and you can't bring your A game because you're just, you don't feel 100%? Have you been able to, get advice as far as how a guy who's always been at the top deals with that?
Well, I mean, you lean on the people that's been in the situation before. For us, we rely so much on the feel that comes from our bottom. And basically, that's how we find the edge in these cars and trucks, is knowing that where that edge is. And obviously when you have, back pains and other injuries, it takes away from your feel. It numbs things. When you have to do treatments that really just take pain away, it's also taking away some feel that you have in your car. So that's been a challenge, and obviously we hope that next year won't be that way. But we're just fighting through it. I mean, I still feel like we have turned a corner and started to run better here in the last month or so. So even with that, everyone goes through injuries differently. Some people don't play, some people do. But I know when I had an ACL injury in 2010, that just made my focus on what my job was even sharper, because I felt like I didn't want to be the reason that was holding our race team back. And I feel the same way with the injury that we're dealing with now, is that I'm focused on to make sure I'm doing everything sound like I should be.
Let's go to Bob, Nate, Ryan. This gentleman right here.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. Is there any added pressure in the truck with the Jordan logo on the hood? And then also, can you just update us on any plans for surgery in the off season?
Well, one of the stipulations that Michael had is that I had to guarantee a win. He didn't say what day, though, so that's the hook on him. But no, it's he's an ultra competitive guy that loves racing. He's been supportive of us these last few years, and even this year, keeping us motivated and keeping your eye on the prize. He's always good about that. But for us, it's a great connection we have, and obviously to have his logo and his brand on our truck is pretty awesome. They've never been a part of racing in that capacity before, so hopefully we do well for them. We've changed everything and that we could on the truck to get it to fastest there in the final practice. But excited about the weekend. And as far as surgery, still haven't decided on it. I still haven't met with the doctors to figure out the best option. I have been feeling so much better in these last month or so that I'd like to steer away from surgery if possible. But obviously I don't want to just kind of cover up the pain with the treatments that I've been doing, and that's kind of just what it does is it numbs you a little bit. So I think that we still have an issue there we've got to address here in the next month or so.
Let's go to Nate, this gentleman right here, and then Carlos.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Denny, when Jimmy was in here earlier, he was asked about other people he was watching Sunday at Martinsville, other people he thought might contend, and he named the 24, the 18, and the 29. Now, I'm sure that's partially because those three guys are in the chase, and you're probably on his list, but have you noticed that, like missing those four races, have you kind of gotten forgotten a little bit, or do you feel a little bit forgotten, and should you still be counted as a favorite, the way you told Jimmy back in the last time here?
Well, I don't want to, I think that we need to perform on the racetrack and they'll notice us tomorrow and they'll notice us Sunday. But I don't feel any kind of entitlement to being a favorite, especially how we've run. These last 6 months or so has been very tough. We've definitely been sort of a non-factor, I guess you could say, as far as race wins are concerned. So I think for the competition or anyone from the outside to think that the 11 is going to be the favorite going into a track where we've struggled to run top 10 lately, it would be far-fetched. However, I'm pretty sure and pretty confident that we're going to be a pretty large force on Sunday.
Let's go to the gentleman right here. We'll go to Carlos and then to Dustin. Raise your hand, sir. Back there.
Hey, Denny, Damian Sorlett with the Lynchburg News in Advance. This first time you're doing double duty since your back injury, and you're actually doing it 2 straight weeks with running the nationwide number 20 next week at Texas. Can you give us progress about how your back's feeling in terms of being able to do double duty and whether you can do 700 laps this weekend without the pain that would come back if, you get involved in an accident and, something happens?
Well, we're at a short track, so the hits here usually are minimal because your speed is minimal here. But I feel fine. Really, like I said, the last couple of months or so, I've gotten out of the car and my back's felt as good as it did when I started. So I think that, the truck race here is relatively short, just 200 laps, goes by pretty quick here. So I think we'll be fine, and hopefully, there's some things that I can learn from Saturday that will translate to some success on Sunday. Even today during practice, there's some things that that I correlated between the two that got both programs running better. So I think we'll be fine as far as that aspect of it. And, thank goodness, FedEx has introduced this one-rate shipping because obviously grandfather clocks can be expensive to ship. I don't know if they have a box big enough, though, with that one rate to ship that clock or not, but we'll come up with something.
I bet they do, FedEx. Carlos, Dustin, Barry, and end with Marty. Carlos?
Denny, Carlos Mendez, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Matt and Jimmy were in here earlier talking about how they were joking with each other through text this week. Can you talk about their friendship and how they maintain it, even as they're competing 1-2 for this thing?
Well, I think that there's just a huge mutual respect between the guys. If I had to guess, I don't know the extent of their, their texting relationship, how intimate they really get or anything like that. But I'm sure, through the text that I've shared with both of them, I'm guessing it's probably lighthearted, and Matt was probably joking around saying, "Don't beat up on me too bad," and Jimmy's like, "Oh yeah, you led laps here in the spring, so you'll be fine." So I'm guessing it's more just joke around, lighthearted head games more than it is anything.
Does Matt have an underrated sense of humor?
No, it's overrated.
Let's go to Dustin, Barry, and end with Marty. Dustin?
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. Denny, a couple things. You've done the 2014 test at Charlotte. Obviously, they're go back in December. What are the things you like? What are the things you expect? And also, obviously, your reaction to NASCAR talking to you guys the other day about the possible changes in qualifying, the pros and cons on that.
I didn't get to go to that meeting. There was, obviously, I went to the couple charity events. So, but I do know what they talked about. That would definitely, you want to see some exciting qualifying. Open up a super speedway for an hour, telling us to go out there and run the fastest lap you can, would be very interesting and very fun in my mind. So I'm glad they're opening those changes. I think that'll be great for our sport. Obviously, we all know that super speedway qualifying, it's not doesn't make for the best TV at times, but still, making that change would be a good thing. The 2014, one thing for sure, I think that they're going to go forward with was the no ride height rule. I think that that's a very positive thing. I drove the car at Charlotte, and I thought that was a very positive change. They're looking at some different aero packages, whether it be a big spoiler or a small spoiler. we went through a lot of different packages. I don't know that we really found something that was better than what we had, but they are at least trying to find something to make us making passing a little bit easier. Trying to make it to where that third and fourth car in line doesn't have such a huge aero disadvantage. So, I'm not sure we really found that package yet that we need to make that happen. But it looks like they're going to run another test in December. So that's good that that's their main focus, because I think really that should be their main focus going forward, is getting our product better, making the racing excitement better, and with the right tire, engine, and aero package, you can really come up with something good. But it's going to take all three of those things working together. I don't think you'll be able to just take all the downforce away and run them on the same hard tires we've been. We've got to soften the tires with it. But that's all stuff that data they've looked through, and they're going to figure something out. I didn't like the taper spacer personally. In my opinion, the only way to create passing is to create off-throttle time. It's all about who's got the guts to drive into the corner harder than the next guy. If we're all running around wide open all the time, everyone's going to run pretty much the same speed. So you've got to create time off the throttle and make us start using brakes again. No one hardly uses brakes anymore in our sport, and that's just another element of the driver difference that has been taken away these last few years.
Let's hit two quick ones, Barry, and then finish with Marty. Go ahead. Barry, right there to your right.
Yes, Barry Richmond, Piedmont Broadcasting Corporation. With the first part of the season, reluctantly having to sit out, but being an integral part of the week-to-week activities going on with the race team, how has that helped you coming back into it at the second part of the season? Obviously, you'd rather be out there, but using that time to benefit from it.
Well, one thing I can tell you is that it makes you appreciate the job you have. Obviously, the next time we get to victory lane, it will make me appreciate that moment that much more, because it's been such a struggle. Not only just the back stuff. I mean, even, we came back and we were pretty good. We had 2 top 5s in a row. But since then, when you lose that edge of being, at the top of your sport, it's making you fight that much harder to get back to the top. And so for us, I think that the moment in which we become our old race team that we've been for the last 7.5 years, and we start winning races again, it's just going to make me appreciate it that much more, because not only of having to sit out, but also having a half a year or so of struggling mightily to be competitive. It just it'll be overwhelming, I guess you could say, once we won.
Final question all the way in the back. Marty?
Thank you. Marty Smith, ESPN. It's similar to what you just answered, Denny, but generally, how do you describe 2013?
Disappointing, but, for a lot of different reasons. We actually we started the year and we were competing for race wins before we had the crash at Fontana. Obviously, we were in a position to win that race. Bristol, we were pretty good until we had a blown tire. But, disappointing because not only did that take all our momentum away, but then we were fighting something all the time. I came back and we still had a fighting chance, but then 3 or 4 blown tires in a row kind of takes you out of the chase picture, and then next thing you know, you go into R&D mode, and then you really struggle. And so it's been a very trying year. I guess that'd probably be the key word to our year. But you just got to suck it up and realize that we had 7 great years, and there's a lot of great drivers that have missed the chase once or twice, and a lot of great drivers that have gone winless throughout a season. It doesn't make them any less of a driver or hurt their legacy at all, because we all know how good they are, and we just got to battle through it. This has just been one of those years that it's going to make you tougher and stronger in the long run.
Danny, thank you for coming in. Good luck to you this weekend.
Thanks.